The NBA may have a serious problem, and I think it's one that they need to address sooner than later. Let's go ahead and talk all about it here today. But before we do, make sure you subscribe. About 80% of viewers aren't, so make sure you're joining that winning 20% that is. Shout out to you if you're a part of that 20%. Also, hit that thumbs up. The goal for today's video is going to be 300 likes. And post down below what you guys think about today's topic, which is, like I said, the problem that the NBA could have. Now, there's been a lot of talk about NBA ratings and all that stuff. And one of the main things that I think the rating topic is so crazy because I think there's legitimately like 15 things you can bring up. And then I'm thinking about these things. We've done a video on it before if you want to see it. And then I see a freaking graph that shows the year over year, going back the last 20 years. It's a graph for the last 20 years of ratings. And it ain't all that different for what it was 20 years ago. But regardless, I'm sure there's context missing, caveats, blah, 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 blah. But the point is, we talk about the ratings a lot. And I think the NBA has made a fundamental issue by focusing a lot on certain players and certain franchises. Now, this is not to say anything negative about said players or franchises. Let's just list some off. LeBron, Steph, KD, the Lakers, the Warriors. Like, let's just list some of that. And you can keep going a bit there, of course. But I think that the NBA has made a critical error in focusing so much on them. And it genuinely has me scared. Not so much from the talent side, but from the media marketing side, how the NBA looks, let's just say 5 years from now, because I'm expecting all those guys to be out of the league in 5 years, right? Harden, Steph, KD, LeBron, Russ is very popular, even if you don't like his play style. Curry, like these guys will be gone probably in 5 years. I'm worried about that. And so let's talk about this post here, and we'll kind of segue, of course. So Sam Presti was asked what he thought about basically the lack of, I'm going to kind of extend this, but the lack of the fact that the Thunder are playing on Christmas, despite being one of the league's best teams last year. I don't know their exact record. I think they led the West, but don't quote me on that. And again, being one of those teams. And he says, I don't think it's a personal issue because we've played on Christmas 9 times. Thunder President Sam Presti said after the schedule was revealed, we have to earn it. We've got to go out there and show that we're capable. He's run the team since 2007, and he is known for culture setting. As a franchise tenant, the Thunder preach humility, seem to actively avoid attention, and by league standards, don't talk that much trash. We're a young team, and a lot of times in the league, you have to earn your stripes. You really don't get given anything, said Caruso. For us, it isn't about how loud you are. It's about getting the job done. And that's a cool mindset. And I think Caruso specifically is going to be an awesome veteran for this team going forward. And he's really going to show what he's worth when they get deep in the playoffs and they need some of that veteran leadership. And not only that, the production. He's going to be awesome for them. But that being said, I wanted to kind of talk about that a little bit because I do think it's pretty insane that they're not playing on Christmas Day. And some of that is because market size, and there's a lot of different factors and reasons why, but I think that the NBA should have been doing, and they're just now starting to try to do it, but I think they should have been trying to emphasize more on certain teams, players, etc., as opposed to everything being about the old guard, LeBron, Steph Curry, all these guys. And again, I don't have a problem with those guys, of course. I just think this is NBA stuff. And the downside of this is that the NBA is also smart for doing that, because think about it. If most people are putting their attention here, why wouldn't you feed that? Right? Why wouldn't you feed that? That's the smart thing to do, right? Let's take content creation, for example. We have specific things that we know do better than others. So obviously we're going to focus on doing the things that do better than others. It's very simple, right? And so from that perspective, the NBA is also smart for doing that. But I do think that you can only ride that for so long because, like I said, I think in a handful of years, I mean, who knows with LeBron? He may be playing 10 years from now. But in a handful of years, I think, seriously, all these guys are gone. And then what do you do? The NBA has started to try to put some of these other guys that they think are going to be popular into some of these matchups where they're showcased a bit more, like, for example, Ant against the Lakers and LeBron, of course. But again, you circle back to, is that star marketable? How successful is that team? How big is the market side? Like, I get it. So national NBA games, including NBA TV. Those are always kind of funny because it's like, is that a national game? I guess, right? So typically this is ESPN, ABC, TNT, those games. Lakers, 39 games. Warriors 36, Celtics. Okay, all these teams are fine. The Mavs up there, Luka, they definitely have really come around as a popular team with a very, very popular player. Also Kyrie, of course, but still, I think they were probably getting 30 prior to Kyrie. They probably were somewhere in that area in terms of rank, like fifth, sixth in that area. Phoenix Suns, the Nuggets there, 29, the Bucks, the Sixers. These are all either the best teams or like the most popular teams, like the top 8 or whatever here. That makes a lot of sense. But then you get down a little bit further. You've got some teams like these two, the Wolves, the Thunder. You could argue maybe they should have a few more. I'm not terribly upset about them having 25. I think where it really shifts is where these teams are 39, 36, 34s. Like, I think these teams could come back like 3, 4, 5 games. I really do. And then it kind of gets a little bit interesting when you go a little bit deeper into this. You see a team like Cleveland, who's been amazing this year. But the thing with Cleveland, I'll say, is that they're a bit of a surprise. Nobody could have predicted they would have started the season the way that they freaking did. So I guess that's a little bit fair. And then down here, there are some nice young pieces on some of these teams that are not getting play just down here. Like, it is what it is. The Bulls have 5 games. They've got some nice young pieces or players, I think, that are fun to watch. Like Levine, talk a lot about him. He's very fun to watch. You have the Hornets with LaMelo, very fun to watch. Brandon Miller, of course. Trae Young and co over here. 9 games for the Magic. Dude, that's crazy. There's no way this happens again next year. But again, some of this is market size, but there are some, to be fair, there are some bigger markets down here, or mid-sized to bigger markets down here. Miami with 13. So you can really see where the NBA is trying to skew. And there are some teams, like I said, OKC, we talked about them. They're up 25. Minnesota, they're 25. Clippers are a big market team. They're kind of in a weird spot because they do have some draw stars like Kawhi and James, but I don't know if that's a big enough draw. Wemby here, 21. There's no way it's 21 next year. It's just not going to happen. Ja here, okay. But like, you see what I'm talking about. Some of these teams can stand to skew a little bit. And I wanted to also just take a look at that and compare it to the standings here. Like I said, Cleveland, they had 16 or so games. Boston is one of the top. New York is one of the tops. My Orlando had 9 games. Insane. The Bucks were one of the top teams. That's fair. Miami, I think, had 13. I think they had 8 here. Indiana, I don't even remember seeing them. Where are they at? They had a really good season last year. They got a fun point guard, fun gun, run and gun, fun team. 14, okay. I understand why they were there. The Bulls were towards the bottom of the list. Like, you can just kind of go down the list. So let's look at the Western side. These guys, Houston, these are middle of the road guys there in terms of 11 games for Houston. I'm not terribly surprised by some of them. Like, I'm not terribly surprised by Houston because I think they were probably overperforming this year, but I'm not really mad at it in terms of their record. I think they've played awesome. I think that it's another Cavs situation where you couldn't have expected them to be the 2nd or 3rd seed for most of the season up to this point, or for a stretch of the season up to this point. But you kind of go from there, and then you have teams down below that are getting a lot of games, right? But for the 5th time, it also does matter about all the other caveats. And I get it. Like I said, the NBA is also low-key smart for that. But I do think that they're making a mistake by not putting enough into, like, I think the long-term payoff is there if you say, okay, we'll take 5 games from the Lakers. We'll give them to Wemby. I think the payoff is there. I do. But I think they're thinking too much with their pocketbooks, and I think that matters a lot too, where you're going to get more money by putting the Lakers on. You're going to get more money by putting the Warriors on. You're going to get more money by putting the Knicks on. Like, I get it. But I do think this is a fundamental issue going forward. And also, NBA on Christmas is one of the times where they also do the thing, like I said, because for a couple of years it was the Lakers and LeBron versus Luka, when Luka was a little bit more up and coming than he is now, before he got completely established. He came into the league in the first year, he was insane. But regardless, you get my point. On Christmas Day, they also do the matchup thing that I mentioned with Ant and the Lakers earlier. They do it there too, but I think that at some point, the Thunder should have been in there. So you know where I'll really be upset is if we go into next year and the Thunder is not playing on Christmas. They don't have I'm not as mad about the number of games. I thought it was less, to be honest. If they're not closer to like 28, I'd be upset. But I'm not really mad at 25, to be honest. But that's where I'd be annoyed. It's more about giving them more opportunities with these high level games, or these high exposure games on high exposure days. That's what I think matters. All right, guys, what do you guys think? Post down below. Like I said, there are so many ways to talk about the NBA ratings. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to hit that thumbs up and subscribe, and check out our other video that we did today where we talk all about the All-Star game, another high exposure game that is not exactly what you'd expect. Players are not happy about it. You're going to want to click on the video on the screen right now. It'll take you right there.